Hey everyone, back again with another part of the Silksong Steel Soul run. I don't particularly remember exactly where I am right now, but I'm going to start it up and we should be able to get a little bit more progress in Act 2. That's right. So now I'm just outside the White Ward, and this is probably going to be one of the most important areas for the entire rest of the run. So starting here, most of it's not got too much to do early on. There is going to be a boss here later that'll give me another Silk card, as I mentioned. But for now, my main goal is pretty much going to be getting straight through it, getting to the end of the White Ward, getting something called the Injector Band, which is the tool that'll heal me faster, and then also getting the Claw Line, which is going to be, again, one of the most important movement abilities, and that should let me get pretty much everything else I need up until Act 3. So this, if nothing else, should at least be a very, very strong start to actually having everything all ready to go and really starting to be able to go everywhere in this map. I think I've already collected most of the stuff in this area from last time, because I did use this to get that one thread spool component. But for the most part, this area is just going to be a little tunnel that I've already gone through, and then into the actual new area. So these, again, are sort of the enemies that are pretty prevalent around here. These, and there's some other enemies called surgeons that have scissors. Most of them aren't too bad. They do attack typically a little bit fast, especially those enemies there. So sort of just baiting them and then dodging away, getting one hit at a time, tends to be the best way to deal with them. The surgeons like to dash a lot, and I do think they deal 2 masks, but I've found them to be one of the less scary enemies, honestly. So there's a secret room there, and also, I'm going to mark this on my map, because in Act 3, there's actually another room above where we are right now that we can't get until we get another movement ability. But there's just going to be another Silk Eater in here, which, again, I'm not sure what that's really going to do for me currently this run, but I guess I'll collect them either way, just because it's probably good to have. And I'm able to also get just a little bit of extra soul from these little, like, sort of surrounding little silk pods. So there we go, there's the map of the White Ward. I don't think there's really any other secrets in this area. Just kind of going to head through the rest of it. So this is the area where all those surgeons are going to be. I have not found them typically all too bad. You can sort of just dash on top of them and pogo off them pretty easily. They've only really got a couple attacks, and they are also very rich in terms of rosaries. 30 per time is a stupidly high amount, especially for how easy these enemies are. So considering how easy they are to take out, this isn't really the best place to farm rosaries. I would say there's a different place that I had earlier near all the Cogwork Dancers. So those enemies there also drop about 30 rosaries, and in my opinion, they're much easier to deal with. Or at least they're much closer to a bench, so you're able to just kill them more often. There's another bit of a secret up here. Not sure what that bug was, but it was kind of funny. I'm actually going to give this just a second before I go there, because over here, I know, is where the Injector Band is. So this, I'm probably not going to fully use yet, just because I'd like to keep that extra mask of defense for a little while, but as soon as I'm at 7 or 8 masks, the Injector Band is going to be immediately one of my more used blue items. Or once I get a couple extra crests and unlock a universal purple item, that I could also do. This here, I'm also going to want to mark. So this is going to be where I'm going to get the, I believe it's the Surgeon's Key. And that's going to be what I need to unlock the boss fight that'll give me that second Silk Heart. I can't get the key until I get the Claw Line, so I'm going to have to make it a little farther first, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And then this, I believe, is another just little lore tidbit. Yep. So that's just talking about how any bug condemned to work is not allowed to die within the Citadel. So I don't think there's really all too much more to the white ward here. It's pretty much just going to be heading down. And now I'll also be able to get to the architect, and she's able to sell me new tools. And I'm also just going to, as always, be checking for like the little secret areas over here. These enemies here, the bigger versions of these ones who normally jump at you, these things are actually a little bit dangerous. They sort of remind me of the enemies in the first Hollow Knight that have masks in Deep Nest, and if you hit them, they'll immediately slash back at you. These ones are a little bit different, and I think they're honestly a little scarier. So this down here is pretty much just a safe area. There's a bit of a secret here if you use the needle in. These extra fourth chorus machines sort of just talk a little bit if you actually use it. Nothing too much except extra lore, but again, just something that's kind of cool to see. So I don't think I'm actually able to get up to the architect until I get this here. That's going to be another claw line thing, but I am able to still just sort of look around here, make sure I'm getting everything in this area. A couple extra shell shards will be nice, especially with getting some new tools soon, but for now, I think I've got pretty much everything I need to actually go get the claw line in the first place. So there's a couple ways I'm able to go around here. I think this one doesn't let me go through this area. I think it's the one below that does, never mind. So, having, again, a damage upgrade and the Hunter's Crest upgraded means that I can just one-shot these enemies when they normally would take a couple hits. So that's one of those examples that I was mentioning earlier where I was saying it can be very, very strong to have several damage upgrades at once. I actually can't even tell, seeing how I'm hitting these things now, if just the single damage upgrade alone lets me do it. At least those enemies there, I was able to see that I was able to two-shot them instead of three-shotting them, which is pretty important. These guys are also definitely a little dangerous, because they're also one of those enemies who deal 2 masks, but only if that explosion hits you. So you do want to make sure, if you're able to hit away that little orb. So I should just be able to run back through this pretty quickly. Ooh. Did take a hit, but luckily it's not too big of a deal. Especially because these guys respawn, so I am able to just sort of go back through and get a couple hits on them. I want to make sure I'm at full health before the next area, because even though it's not super difficult, it can definitely mess you up a little bit. It's just another platforming section, and, well, that's also fine. It does mean that occasionally, especially if you're not quite super prepared, you don't really get any silk from it. And so it's best to go in prepared. Just like that, I mean, because right now I'm not in the main part of the platforming segment, but things like that where it gets a little weird. If it messes you up, it messes you up, and you kind of just want to be ready for it if it happens. Ooh. Also, definitely not in the best place right now, but as soon as I get one more hit, I should be okay. It's definitely looking a little dangerous here. I do not want to quit out to save myself, especially just because I think that's not really in the fun of the challenge, but I'm also messing up quite a bit, so I may just have to go back a little bit and rest at a bench. Well, it does suck a little bit to have to do this. I would just rather be safe than sorry, because, again, well, I'm able to totally go back and do this again, as I have a few times. Losing this much progress would just be a little annoying. and I would rather not have to do all this again. There's still a fair chance that I die, especially in like later parts of Act 3, just because some of the bosses there get very, very difficult. But I would be at least much more okay with having died there after having a very good run, rather than I would here, just at like a stupid dinky little platforming part. So I'll at least go here, repair that extra mask. And I think I may just really quickly go all the way back over here and check what's to the right. I'm pretty sure this is just an area sort of below the stag station. So this would be like sort of where you'd go with Trabio afterwards. So yeah, there's nothing really all too important over here right now. I think there might be a few things I can get, but I'm going to have to go back through there later anyways, and so I don't think it's really worth it to deal right now. Down here I know there's a little bit of extra stuff as well. So that over there will be in the room with the claw line. This is again kind of one of those weird sort of useless rooms that they just sort of exist for whatever reason. Here is actually going to lead me back to another one of the air travel tubes, like the air travel system tubes. I haven't unlocked this one yet, but we're basically on the rightmost side of the underworks, sort of near a couple of those areas, as you're able to see. I still don't really care all too much about going back yet, so I'm just going to go back over and, again, make my way down to where the claw line is. Hopefully remembering to use my tools a little bit more and just taking out some of those enemies a little more efficiently and, you know, remembering the platforming segment that's down there will make it so I don't almost die this time. But just by taking it a little slow and being fairly careful, I should be just fine. I think one of the biggest dangers is probably going to be those exploding enemies. They're still really all not that bad, but especially if I'm not able to two-shot them, having that third hit can be a little tough to get in the time frame that they give you before they explode. Also not really doing very good about keeping all my masks here. But there we are. There's going to be another exploding enemy here. Okay. So I've also got enough for a spell, so I should be pretty safe whenever the enemies actually decide to appear here. Or I can, again, just miss the platforms entirely. Or that works too. I will say, I do think it's kind of funny how much more environmental damage I feel they added in Silksong compared to the original Hollow Knight. Just because so much of the stuff now, you'll hit an enemy and they'll just go absolutely flying. So there we go. Not really anything to the sides here. I think I pretty much just head straight up, and this is gonna be the room with the claw line. There are a couple extra little things around here, but I don't think there's really much of them I can interact with a ton. Some extra silk is gonna be nice before I go to this next room, because the claw line does actually require extra silk to use. So that there's going to be the claw line room, and I did see one other thing down here. Some of these flying enemies, especially in rooms like this, are definitely something to be careful of. Because while these rooms are definitely doable, they are definitely still dangerous. Those big guys, well, they do seem also pretty scary, and they definitely are a little scary if you try to attack them too much. You are sort of able to just make sure you kite around them a little bit, and if you use your spells and tools correctly, you'll take them out really, really quickly, and they aren't much of a worry at all. Okay, and that should be the last thing I have to do before the claw line. So again, getting this upgrade should be pretty much one of the biggest components in just actually being able to traverse the game now. It's going to make a huge difference in terms of actually what I'm able to unlock, where I'm able to go. It's going to basically make so many more areas of the game that I've already explored accessible. I find it somewhat seldom used in terms of, like, actually hitting things with combat, but you can use it. So I don't think I'm able to go just straight up the left wall here. Yeah, not quite. But having some extra silk as I go into this is going to make it a lot nicer. Because normally what you have to do otherwise is you sort of just have to, like, wait for your silk to regenerate from your silk heart. And that's, while not the worst, typically a little bit of a pain on average. Only one more hit, there we go. And then I do think there is sort of another, like, combat room up here. But I don't think there's going to be another one I have to worry about for a while. And I don't think there was anything particularly crazy up there that I missed. Doesn't seem like it. So this here's going to be the combat room. I'm just going to make sure to use my tools, and I should be just fine here. These enemies, I think, normally make up some of the main difficulty of the room, but since I have the Hunter's Crest going for me, I should be doing just fine. And hitting it with the Fulcrum should do a lot more damage. Wow, and that took him out super quickly. And there we go. I did that room entirely hitless, which I think is a first. Yep, and this just leads me right back here to where the Architect is. So I'm not going to be able to get the Architect's Crest quite yet, but I will be able to get a couple tools, because I've got a ton of rosaries and a few craft metals stored up.
That's fine. Has been?
And here we are. So this here is going to be just another damage upgrade for my tools, which is going to be huge for me right now. That's going to be a really, really nice one to have. Some of these are more useful than others. I find that the Cogwork Wheel, I think, is probably one of the stronger ones. This one deals damage when you're near enemies and you do like a double jump, sort of. And this one lets you scuttle, which I think is probably one of the funniest, but also not super, super useful, because you can just sort of dash the other way anyway. And it's okay, but I think the other two are probably more worthwhile. So I'll get a couple of these right now, just to get them out of the way. Later, once I'm able to get a few more tools, I'll also be able to unlock the Architect's Crest using this key, but as it says here, acquire 6 more tools to prove aptitude, so I'm not able to get that quite yet. And then up here is pretty much just where you'd normally get the Architect's Crest. Right here. I don't think this does anything particularly much here. It's a bit of a weird place to have a ring, because as far as I'm aware, it's entirely useless, but it's sort of just there for show. And I do think there's also something there. I did just miss the jump, but... I think really all this is just another area where you can use your needle in with the 4th chorus. So it's kind of neat, but nothing too crazy. So just double checking, I think I've got a fair few crests as of now. Looks like it. So I have 3 of, I believe, 7 currently. So once I get 1 or 2 more, I'm almost entirely certain that that's when I'm actually going to be able to go and get the extra yellow slot upgrade. So that's not really going to do a whole ton in my opinion, because most of those tend to be pretty static on like what I actually tend to use. But either way, it's always nice to have as many tool slots as I can, so I'll go for that. And I don't know if there's anything particularly useful in this room. I think it's really just this shortcut you can unlock. So having that, I'm going to head back up now, and I should be able to go get some extra stuff. I'm not going to go for the second silk heart quite yet, because I found that that is probably one of the scarier, what do you call it? Yeah, one of the scarier bosses in the game, even with more masks. So I do want to wait a little bit on that one. So looking at what we've got on the map, I definitely do want to go back up here to Songclave to get a couple of those wishes done. I am able now to actually go up here through the high halls. I don't want to get the Song of the Conductors quite yet, because that's going to be very, very difficult. That room is probably, as I've mentioned, the hardest encounter in the entire game. So I'm definitely not looking to do that one quite yet. There's a few things over here. I believe in the Blasted Steppes soon I'll actually be able to get some extra stuff and unlock a new area. Shellwood, there's not really too much going on, albeit I do think I can get the courier missions very soon. I'm going to head back to, in just a minute here, Bellheart, and that's going to give me a few extra things I can turn in for some extra rosaries. I do think I'm able to go fight a boss called the Savage Beast, or the Savage Beastfly, I believe. That gives me an extra crest, which would be nice. And then the last thing I can really think of is down here, there's an extra mask shard, which I could get. I don't really know of too much else that'd be super worth it right now, but I'm going to go get a few of those things done. I believe there's also another thing I can go get done in the Wormways, so that'll be another nearby stop. Alright, I don't think there's anything much still. Yeah, nothing yet to talk about with Pavo. So there's a few extra wishes here now. One of them is just a donation, so I was thinking of getting some things in the shop, which I might be able to do after I get a few extra rosaries from the artifacts. And this is what's going to unlock all those courier missions, so very soon I should be able to at least start up on the second nail upgrade. Or, well, the next one in general. So, you know, 800 rosaries, just a couple extra. That'll at least be nice to have. I don't think there's anything else much I can do with my nail right now, since I've already got it sharpened. Everything else here is pretty much just waiting. Okay, so I believe is the brother in Shellwood. I know it tells you here in the actual, like, wishes. Here it is, so Lord Greymore. I do remember where that's going to be. It'll be best to rest here first, just in case. I don't think there's much else to do here. I would, as I've mentioned, really like to go back and check that unique enemy for Steel Soul mode. I would also like to talk to this NPC right here, because I don't know if they're able to move again quite yet. Ah, yes, okay. So yeah, they are ready to move again. Last time I did this, I think I accidentally interacted with them too late, so after this one, they didn't move again for a little while.
Yanaga Noshke.
Yanara.
Barishkava. Yanaga Noshke.
Ah, yes, and this should be another one of those spool fragments. So let's see here. So now, currently, we are right outside where we fought the last judge. I don't think there's really much to do here right now, and I do have a little bit of missing flea brew. So there's not really much to do with the flea caravan again right now. I can just head straight back down. And luckily, now that I've got the claw line, it should make getting through these areas much, much faster. But there's going to be another bellway right here, so I'll be able to go back, head to Bellheart again, and then I can go check Greymoor for the brother, and then I'll also be able to get a few things from the shop while I'm there. And over here is generally a pretty useful area. I'm not able to go up fully into this area yet, because I will need the double jump in here for this merchant. Otherwise, though, there is, I know, a secret wall right here. I believe from what I've heard, there's actually another way to get sort of like a hidden Hunter's Journal entry here. By playing the needle in. If I'm correct. And then I believe eventually, if you're able to deal enough damage, you're able to actually take those enemies out. So I'm going to just mark this area yet again, just so I'm able to remember to come back and get that at some point, even if it's not now. And then I think there's another beast shard up here, which is basically just a bunch of extra shell shards for whenever I need it. And then up here later is going to be an entrance to an area called Sands of Karak, I believe. It's one of the more difficult areas, and it's pretty much entirely a platforming area. It's definitely a little bit of a pain in the ass, but that's going to be the area that I think I'm actually able to unlock pretty much whenever I want to. But I would still like the double jump and maybe an extra mask or two first. There is, from what I understand, actually, a really good trinket down here that I'm able to win from basically gambling against an NPC. Or he's just fucking dead. Okay. I actually didn't expect that, but here we are. I do believe there's also another boss here, specifically in Act 3, that I'm not able to fight for a little while. It's a fairly tough boss, but I will get there when I get there. So now that I've got that, I think that might actually be a yellow charm, and if it is, then it's absurdly powerful for what it is. And it looks like it actually is. So it says, used in simple games and believed to bring luck to the bear. This just gives you a chance to not take damage at all, which is honestly fucked up, but I can't say I'm complaining too much, so... For now, I'm going to head back to Bellheart real quick, go get those extra items, find the courier's brother, and then I'm going to start going through a little bit more of the main storyline, at least working my way towards some of those other songs, even if I'm not ready to get them quite yet. The Architect song should be easy enough. The Keeper song may be a little tricky, but I will get some extra rosaries as I get those. And the rest of it shouldn't really be all too bad once I've got enough tools and masks. Alright, and so now there's a couple extra bits, this being the main one. So another extra bit of silk is always nice. I'm not able to get the other item quite yet, just because I don't quite have the money, but I do believe I remember where the courier's brother is, so that should be pretty quick to get to. This tends to be the safer way, just because the other way is the one with all the bear traps and everything, which I do not want to deal with. One death to those is, I think, enough for me in Steel Soul. So I'm pretty sure to get to the courier's brother, I pretty much just keep heading this way. This enemy is actually one that we're going to need later. Not quite yet, though. So this is how I'm actually going to be able to get to the slab, is when he does that cage attack where he drops down on you. That'll actually fully capture you, and he'll take you to the slab after he kidnaps you. So that's generally the way you unlock the rest of the area, besides just going to it through the Citadel like I already have, just for that first little area. But I do, again, want to wait till I have probably 1 to 2 more masks. It's not the worst area ever, but it is a little bit tricky just because it really sort of makes you fight without any of your normal tools. You deal very little damage, you have pretty much no abilities, and you kind of are just stuck fending for yourself. So I do believe... Oh, I'm not actually able to get all the way up there quite yet because I haven't gone up before. I think I have to actually climb up first, but I do know he is up there. So this is where that one enemy was before. I do think... Yeah, so I do think I have to have had the wall cling to go up, and I just have to go to the left first. There's a bit of another secret. So there's, I think I've mentioned this before, but there's a quest to get one of the crests called the Witch's Crest. It's one of the weaker crests in the game. It's cool though, but the whole point is that whenever you're unlocking it, you cannot heal, and you're very severely weakened because you can't use spells, can't heal, can't do pretty much anything except for use your tools and your nail. So... you also, however, sort of have unique things, like there's unique sounds when your character dies, your cocoon is all, like, messed up and has tentacles coming out of it. It's got a bunch of really unique components to it, but if that enemy who grabs you with the cage happens to grab you while you're cursed with that, you actually get, like, a unique thing that doesn't ever leave your world. And there's also a secret ending if you beat the final boss while you're cursed, which is also kind of interesting. I have done that one before. It's not really super hard. Mainly you just kind of want to wait till you're like right outside the final boss before you get cursed if you want to do that ending, and then it's not too bad. You just have to beat the final boss without healing, which can be a little tricky, but the final boss really isn't super hard. Yep, so here's going to be the elevator. I'll be able to take that down to the halfway home again now whenever I want to. But over here is going to be where the courier is. Somewhere, at least. And then I know I'm also able to go in here, and there's another member of the flea caravan who I can save.
Verdastemas.
Okay, so what that does is basically it just unlocks like a hot spring at the flea caravan, which is kind of nice, but it doesn't really give me all too much that I need. I think at least that the courier should be up here soon. I also haven't fully explored this area, so I do know there's some extra stuff up here that I haven't gotten yet, albeit I'm not surely, or well, I don't fully remember what it is. Ah, yes, so that's going to be Sinner's Road. That area sucks, so I'm going to give that a little bit first, but I will be able to go there soon enough. That'll unlock the NPC, the Green Prince, as well as a few other things which are pretty useful. I will have to go there for when I am unlocking the Witch's Crest, so that'll be a thing soon. Another little lore tidbit here, and this should bring me straight to the courier. I think he might actually be in Sinner's Road, so I may have to go in there a little bit. So the main thing about Sinner's Road is it's got these roaches that sort of have like a grab attack, like that. It's a little bit of a pain, but they're really not too bad. You have to kill a bunch of these for one of the wishes of the NPCs in this area. For now, I just want to be a little careful as I'm playing to make sure I'm not getting hit too much. Because while these enemies aren't really too bad, as I've said, they sort of just have this one jump attack. you want to get hit as little as possible. This area also has the first instance of the maggot water, which is, in my opinion, by far one of the worst things in this game. Essentially, its entire thing is if you get doused in it, you have to either sit at a bench or do a full bind in order to remove it before you're able to heal. There is a tool which can sort of save you from it one time, I'm pretty sure, and then you have to restore it at a bench, but that tool is not something I'm able to get for a little while, so playing without it right now is sort of just where I'm stuck. So there's the green prince up there. I don't think I have another simple key. I know I get another one in the Sands of Karak, so he's going to be the one who unlocks Verdania later on. There's also going to be an NPC sort of around here who's able to give me more of these Silk Eaters, but that's the one that I was actually very curious to see if they're going to have something else for him instead. It might be a good idea, actually, to in a minute go and start that wish of those NPCs, just because I'm already going to be killing a fair few of these enemies. But this really shouldn't be much of a detour, I don't think. Couple more roaches around here, some extra rosaries. Something up here. I do know, so these little shell shards here that you can get in these little, like, outcrops, there's actually an enemy which camouflages itself as those later. I think they're later Act 2, and up here there's also going to be something. That's going to be one of those components I'm going to need for the next nail upgrade with the Gourmand. That's going to be, I believe, the Pickled Muck Maggot. I do have to fight a boss for it, though. So I do need at least the double jump before I'm able to even access that, but that boss I've also found not to be super, super difficult, but definitely a little tough. It has a lot of really big sort of explosion type attacks, and that can be a little scary. So this here is the maggot water I mentioned. That charm there is sort of an interesting one. One that I can't say I'm like a massive fan of, but yeah. Basically, you take double damage from everything, so every attack will deal 2 masks of damage. However, you also deal more damage yourself. So I'm going to make another little mark right here, just because I think there might actually be another secret in that room I was just in, but because, again, I really don't want to deal with the maggot water right now, or at least as little as possible, I'm going to leave that be. So I think first order of business around here is pretty much just going to be these enemies here. When they throw things, you kind of want to time when they throw it to hit it right back at them, because that one actually is very consistent at dealing damage to them if you do it. So down there in a minute, once I'm able to get another simple key, I will unlock the Green Prince. So it looks like the courier may actually be in this room. This will also be where those NPCs who want the roaches killed are going to be. This here to the right is going to be where I could normally unlock the room after beating that one boss. That'll give me the Muck Maggot for the Gourmand. But this room really, for now, isn't all too terribly important or crazy. A couple extra resources in it, just a little bit extra stuff, but again, not really too much right now. Want to make sure I'm all healed up real quick. These enemies really aren't too bad. I feel these are some that I've had probably some of the most practice dealing with, and so I don't really care too much having to sort of just play through them, but they really also aren't liking to come down here. Trying to see what I can do to get a hit on them, but unfortunately they seem pretty damn adamant to coming up here in any way. There we go. I saw at least one of them took a hit there. There we go. That definitely hit both. There we go. That seems to also have hit both. So, luckily, holy shit, when are they gonna die? There we go. So there goes at least that first one. There's the second one, and that should be all we need. Bit of a glitch with the curve claw over there. Not sure how that one happened.
일어나래.
So there's going to be a bench over here just in a minute that I'm actually going to have to unlock. So first off, I'm going to see if I can heal again. Just because I am in a little bit of a precarious position with health. If I can heal, then I'm going to go back up here, get these NPCs, and then sort of just keep working towards that bench. This area is definitely one of the scarier, especially early game, because there's not really too many enemies that are super, super scary in this area. There's the enemies who throw things, and those can be a little tricky, but as a whole, really, I think for the most part, you don't have to worry too much. There's these guys later who sort of have like these big chain, almost like drills on their hands. They're sort of similar to enemies in the Citadel, where they've got like an AoE around them, very similar to your Thread Storm. I'm not going to see any of them, I don't think, for a minute or two, but those are also some of the more tanky enemies here that you want to watch out for. Mistimed that one a little bit. Trying to lure him over again, there we go. Yep, and here they are.
Da, fenestra. Cadestre.
So these NPCs right now are pretty much just going to explain that they farm the roaches in order to eat them, and there's the parts of them that are typically the best to eat are the guts, but they typically aren't able to get them, and so just killing them lets you collect them and deliver them back. I don't think it gives you much except for like really some rosaries. You know, besides later these NPCs giving you a certain thing for extracting the Charm of the Witch, but as of now, they're pretty much just an extra little side quest. Another meeting with Chakra here is nice, because I don't think I have the air tube pins quite yet, but she does sell a few things here.
Hasbin?
And then just while I'm here, I may as well get the rest of these markers. And I don't remember if I'm able to talk to her now to get the pins for the air tubes, or if that's going to be later.
Benny Frank. Tembiayen.
Ah, here it is.
Regina Thora.
So there we are. So next time that I meet her, she should be able to sell me those. There's a few rosaries up here, and then here it is. So this here is the secret wall that'll actually unlock this bench. It's a little bit of platforming, nothing too bad for the most part. These things, swinging definitely is a little tough to get used to for the first time around. But especially with the claw line, you can sort of just zip over them. Because I could have come here much before this, pretty much right as I got the claw line. Or not the claw line, but the cling grip to the walls. And so it's kind of got that, but the claw line definitely just makes this easier. Because a lot of this, it's like, oh no, big gaps, and then you can just sort of go straight over them. This here is what I do not like. Areas like that where it sort of almost forces you into the water. There are a couple of those, which you are able to skip if you have some quick enough reaction times, but typically those are very, very difficult still. Like when you're first entering an area called Bile Water, which is probably the most notorious of them all, that one has got a whole ton of the sort of maggoted water. And pretty much when you first enter there, you enter there on the right-hand side of the Citadel after you beat the Vault Keepers, I believe. And that one immediately dunks you into the water, and that one really, really sucks. There we go. So I'm going to go up here real quick, and I guess we're probably going to see if there's any difference to that NPC who normally gets the Silk Eaters for you. Just because they're useless, I was already curious if they were going to sort of replace them with a different purpose. Because again, Hollow Knight with the Rancid Egg is pretty much you just sold them to an NPC rather than use them to teleport your shade to you. So I'm curious if it'll be a similar thing where you can still get the Silk Eaters, but they have an entirely different purpose. Unless that could have been the other NPC I saw earlier that I didn't want to mess with. I'm not quite sure, though. Here's these enemies that I was mentioning earlier. So that's what I meant sort of when I was saying that they had that, like, drill type thing. And I don't think there's anything over there, really, except for those shell shards. These enemies aren't too bad, for the most part. But I do want to be very, very careful when I'm attacking them. Another secret wall up here. Don't remember exactly where this one leads me. Oh, this leads me to the mist. So the mist, I also don't really want to deal with quite yet, because that leads also... I think that's also led in from bile water. The main thing with the mist is pretty much you play the needle in near those little sort of glowing fly things, and they'll show you the proper way through, otherwise it's basically just an infinite maze. That'll let me get another spell, but that's another thing I'm going to have to fight a boss for. And virtually all of the bosses that I'm going to have to deal with anytime soon, most of them are pretty scary. It does look like I actually do have to sort of go around this the proper way. Just missed that last pogo off that spike, so I'm going to have to go back up here. This here is going to be that NPC, though, and I figure, even if I don't really do anything like bosses this time again, just because these episodes have been a little bit slower, just because I'm still sort of in that grindy section where I'm getting a lot of my really, really big upgrades and everything. Soon it should change, but I figure I may as well check anything new that I can think that would be really, like, sort of special, especially in Steel Soul mode that's not in the normal game. Oh, I believe this actually may be a combat room, so I still don't know if I'm ready for that one quite yet. I'll make a mark of it on the map in a second. I don't think it would be all too difficult, because again, most areas in this area, or most enemies in this area, really aren't all too bad. But since I'm close enough, I think, to 2 masks, especially knowing the areas I'm going to be going to, I think I'll hold out just a tiny bit. Because as soon as I get 7 masks, I will be infinitely more confident in my abilities, and then I'll really be ready to take on a whole lot of this. So there's the first of the roach guts. I think this one's pretty much just the flea. Down here, there's going to be another tunnel to the right, and that's what we're looking for. So from what I understand, you can also actually get, like, those little maggots in the water as they're... Oh, shit! Oh my god, that was close. But from what I understand, you can actually get those maggots as, like, their own Hunter's Journal entry as well, which I was completely unaware of. So in there, there's another entrance to this, and I was right. So this NPC normally would be completely alive, but they're dead here in Steel Soul, it seems. Oh!
Mjölfenen?
Ah, so it is like it used to be. Ah, So it does seem like it's a very similar case to the first Hollow Knight. I do want to be a little cautious because, well, I don't think this is going to be anything except for sort of just selling these. I would not be shocked if this game did something like, once you give a certain amount of these Silk Eaters, you just have to fight it as a boss or something. It doesn't seem like that's the case. It does seem, if I'm reading this right, like it's actually giving me increased rosaries every single time I give another Silk Eater too, which is really interesting actually. Because there are, I assume this is going to be like, again, the original Hollow Knight, where specifically in Steel Soul mode, there's a very limited amount of these items that you would normally use to sort of get your stuff back. But in this case, I actually don't know, because I don't think I ever delivered every Rancid Egg to the other character in the first Hollow Knight, being Steel Soul Jin. But I'm curious if there's going to be something if you deliver every Silk Eater otherwise. Again, this is one of those things where it's like absolute worst case. If I'm unable to get all of them just purely by myself, I'll probably look it up just to make sure I'm getting all the content possible, because I do want this to not only sort of be like a showcase of me just playing the game, but a showcase of me doing the entire game. Because I think being able to see pretty much everything the game has to offer is one of the things that I always really enjoy about watching people play. And I think having that being something I can do just seems like a fun time. Little bit cheesy here, but I would like to heal before I take this guy on. Straightforward. There we go. Well, he only took one hit anyway, but still. And because that's pretty much everything here, as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty much just able to head straight back down to this bench. So now we've also got the Courier's Brother, so that's going to be a big boost. Not really too much else to worry about here until I get a simple key. So I'm just going to get this bench here, and then head back down to Greymoor. I may very well also go for the Crest of the Beast, because while that is another boss that gives some people trouble, I don't ever really have much of a problem with it myself. So I'm pretty comfortable taking it on right now as is. There you are. So I may do that fairly soon. Again, I might not do it this time specifically. I think I missed something here, actually. Oh, that's right. I believe this is actually just like... Yep, looks like it. I was going to say, I do think there is something down here still. But you can see pretty clearly here, actually, what it is that the maggot water does. So it slowly actually drains your silk over time, which is its first effect. That's not really all too detrimental because it's very, very slow. I believe it's even slower than like playing the needle in or anything like that. But very soon you'll see. So I can't heal quite yet because I don't have the silk to do it. But as soon as I get the silk to do it, you'll see. I heal no masks, but I completely dissipate all those maggots. So I don't have the item that lets me actually get those as a Hunter's Journal entry quite yet, but I can go get it, I think, in just a minute. It's on the other side of Greymoor, sort of in the top left. The NPC who will normally also, besides these ones here in Sinner's Road, help me to get the Witch's Crest by removing a parasite. Right above her, I believe, is where you get sort of this exploding bomb tool, and it's very, very strong. I've never used it too much, but I've had friends tell me that it's incredibly useful, and they've found it to be stupidly strong. There's nothing else really I can do for a while down here in the halfway home. I can go get a bottle of, I believe it's like some aged alcohol stuff, and that can progress a little bit of the questline in the next needle upgrade, but nothing really much enough for me to care about yet. And plus, it costs a fair few rosaries. And I don't really want to spend those, just mainly because I don't have... You know, I was about to say I don't have a whole ton, but that's a fucking lie, so I guess I may in a bit, but I just don't think it's something I want to deal with right now either, because it is a massive arena room. It's pretty much all like those ant enemies in Hunter's March, but just absolutely loads of them. There we go. And then I do think there's a little bit extra over here. Missed the pogo, but that's okay. Or I'll just still be bad. I do think there's like a flea up here in sort of one of these areas. There's another Silk Eater here, so I'll be able to deliver that fairly soon. I can also get another shortcut to that NPC who takes them for money, so I'll unlock that later. It's in upper right Greymoor, but for now, I just want to go through these areas around here, getting all the stuff I haven't quite got yet. Really missing the pogo on this enemy here. There is a bit of silk up here, though. As I've mentioned, those enemies, especially if you just hit them like right as their projectile's flying at you or as soon as they throw it, aren't too bad to deal with. This is normally just to help you get back over, I think. Don't think there's anything much here except for these rosaries up here. And I don't think there's... Well, let's see here. Yeah, so up here is also, I believe, where you normally can get to the Wisp Thicket, which I can't get quite yet, but you can see it right up here. There's like this little wooden notch. So once I get the double jump, that'll let me get up there. And so that's going to be like another tool I can get, I guess. It's not too much else. I think it might unlock a bit of a shortcut to the Citadel straight from Greymoor, but that's most of what it does. So this drops me down right here. I think this is where I can go to get that tool I was just mentioning, the explosive one, and since I'm going to need that for a bunch of Hunter's Journal entries, I might as well go get it real quick. I'm thinking I'll probably fight that boss for the Beast's Crest in the next part of this. Not because I think I'm unable to quite yet, but just because the episode is getting, again, to that hour point where I typically try to end it. So, that's the NPC who will help cure me of the parasite and get the Witch's Crest. But she basically just is unwilling to even talk to you before you have any form of, like, parasite in you. So it's the Fade Rosary String, and then up here even further, here it is, this breakable wall, and this leads you to the tool. Okay, so I've got that now. I still am going to want to save one of my craft medals, because that's going to give me the cog flies as soon as I get to the high halls in the Citadel, which is going to be one of my next goals. After I get the next crest, maybe check out a few extra of like those Weaver's Nests. That's going to be... Should probably not get hit by that spike. But that's going to be one of the next really big things that I'm planning on going for. So over here, I did also see one last sort of little room, at least that I want to check out. Right here. Never mind. Oh, yeah, okay. So this is just the map not having done it quite yet, because up there was just the Silk Eater, right. So, being where we are right now, I actually might go do the Mark of the Beast real quick. So that's going to be down in Hunter's March. It looks like the closest spellway to that is going to be the Deep Docks one, so that's pretty doable. Unfortunately, I'm not able to fast travel there quite yet, but...
Yanara.
Okay. So I believe... Oh, no, I didn't want to go in the elevator. I do believe I'm also now able to do the Duelist Chakra, which I will do, I think, pretty soon. Not quite yet, but soon. I'm also entirely unsure if those duels are able to kill you, because, again, the only one I've done is against Scarmond. But I think that, again, just knowing this game, the likelihood's very high. So, real quick, we're going to head to the Deep Docks, and then we should be able to go take on the Savage Beastfly. It's not too bad of a boss. It definitely catches some people off guard the first time, because it's got some sort of weird attacks where it'll, like, slam into the ground, it'll sort of just fly around all weird. It's got some odd mannerisms, and I don't think there was a secret there I missed. No, okay. There was a bit of an odd light there that I just wanted to double check. Okay. So I can pretty much head straight up right, and then straight up and right again, and that's what I'm looking for. And I think at this point I'm probably getting pretty close to the point where I can 2 to 3 shot these enemies, assuming I have the Hunter's Crest all charged up. With the Savage Beastfly, I think by the time I get there I should hopefully, again, if I just don't get hit, I should have the Hunter's Charm all charged up. Or the Crest of the Hunter, and that should make the fight much, much faster. There's another thing here, so I think if I play the needle in... So this one actually doesn't even begin to work, but these, now that I've got the needle in, I can actually show some of the weird little hidden sort of like lore tablets of. Let's see, and this might actually be, yep, one of these sort of weird like mimic enemies. All they do is really sort of just like zigzag around. But that's another Hunter's Journal entry. They're sort of one of the more hidden creatures. But it's kind of cool to see them whenever you get one. So, yep, there's going to be, real quick here, a bench. I do think, yep, that's another thing I'm not able to, well, I am actually able to get that now, I believe, because I have the wall jump. But, Crest of the Beast comes first. And the wall cling is all I should need to get right up here. And there's another one of these sort of trapper enemies. Oh, and you know, I really wasn't ready to go to the slab quite yet, but I guess that's what next episode is going to be. Luckily, it is a bit of a tough area, but it's nothing I shouldn't be able to handle. All the enemies there are pretty manageable. And it's made for you to be able to beat without any weapons or anything, but I'm just going to have to do it on a few lower masks than I was hoping to. This is also the Naked Hornet section of the game, which goes crazy. I don't think there's anything much I can do here quite yet. Just because really you need like, you need to go from the top of this area, work down, and then back around. I thought there was something like this, so you need a key to get there. This area is also a bit of a puzzle. It's very similar to an area in a game, Blasphemous, actually, where you need 3 different keys in order to sort of unlock all these doors. And you kind of got to go around to find the keys. Right. There's also those traps, which luckily I was able to react to that one. But you'll be able to see pretty quickly, we have no crest active whatsoever. And these enemies take a whole lot more hits to kill. So as soon as I get a bench here, I think that's going to be an area I'm pretty content with being done at. But yeah, the only thing we have right now is pretty much our bind, and that is it. The other thing about this area, as I sort of mentioned in a previous episode very, very briefly, is that you can actually freeze. Really, most of these enemies, they're actually not even worth trying to fight right now. You really just want to run past them. There is, in my opinion, one of the cooler combat rooms coming up.
일어나래.
But yeah, there is one of the cooler, in my opinion, combat rooms just in the game. Because what they do is they make it so you have to use sort of like these spikes in the arena to kill enemies. Because you deal so little damage in the first place that it's like, okay, you aren't going to kill the enemies normally anyway. And so that you've got like a bunch of these pressure plates that you just have to purposefully activate over and over and over to kill the enemies. So that'll be the first key. Ooh, please. So this over here is going to be the bench. And for now, I think that's a pretty good stopping point. That's a good start on the slab, and I will actually be able to get the map here before I sit at the bench, but yeah, this area is going to be a little bit tricky.
나 페니스트라.
Luckily, I can't really think of almost any enemy in this area which has like massive AoE, so most of them are pretty easy to deal with. And there we are. So currently, because we don't have the quill or anything else, this is pretty much all we can see of the slab. There's going to be a lot of really cool things coming up in this area, including one of my favorite bosses in the game. That drops an extra spell. There's going to be some other stuff you can get. There's a second boss later that I'll have to do for a wish, but yeah, for now, this area is going to be honestly kind of a fun one to go through. But for now, I think that's a pretty good stop point. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for next time.